Hello, hello. Hey, good morning, Craig.
Porch. Hey, David.
Hey, we're back on the
Good
porch.
to see you as always.
Hey, amen, amen. It's Aloha Friday. I got my Aloha shirt on. I think you cut that, right? Well, I'm a little buttoned up. I don't know. I'm not ready for the beach yet. Let's see. Anyway, let's get busy here. Hey, lately we've been talking about movies, films, different aspects, directing, acting, all kinds of auditions, all kinds of stuff we discuss. And we keep getting people asking about technical stuff. And I'm not the guy to ask that because I'm not that talented. And Craig knows more than I, but we happen to be associated with somebody who knows more than both of us. And it's our pleasure to have Mr. Josh Williams. He's worked on a couple of our films, done the editing for a few of our films, which was fantastic. And he turned our ideas into something just awesome. So he is a producer. He is a tech wizard, as a cinematographer, an editor. He's a director. He's written films. He has films out there. But I'm going to stop. And
and he's also a filmmaker.
Yep.
Filmmaker as well. I mean,
yeah,
very talented young man.
Not to mention, he plays the guitar like you wouldn't believe.
Yes.
But here he goes. Enough of the air guitar. Yes, Josh, good to have you with us, man.
Hey guys, thanks for the invite to hang out with you and talk about cool stuff we like to dabble in.
Our pleasure to have you on the porch with us. You know, metaphorically, of course, we see you're in a room, I'm in a room, but we want the audience to picture us on a porch and we're having something nice to drink and there's a nice background. Oh, enough of that. Anyway, Josh, go ahead.
Yeah, I love making movies as much as the two of you have enjoyed it over the last few years. I'm a movie buff since a young age. My uncle used to take me to the theater all the time while my parents were out doing nightlife. I'd go spend time with him at the theaters. He had a vast VHS collection at home. He'd dub like 3 movies per tape. So I'd see the shelf with labels and it would say like Ghostbusters, Splash, Star Wars. And so I would just like borrow these tapes and watch every movie and take them back. So it was almost like I had my own Blockbuster video at my uncle's house. But yeah, I've always watched every type of movie since being a kid. Things I shouldn't have watched that were not age appropriate. And don't let your mind limit you there too, because I've walked into some different rooms at odd times. Anyway. But yeah, you know, like being a kid in the 80s, watching movies like Splash, you know, which is like a Tom Hanks grown-up style movie, but I appreciated and got the humor and the message. And so I've just always loved movies from any type, and being big into music as well. Started off as a musician and eventually brought in people to my studio that wanted to film their recording sessions. And that's where I discovered that like the average person could use a DSLR camera to capture video and then turn it into something that looks like a documentary or a music video. And I was kind of blown away by where technology's at today. I don't know if you guys had experience like with home videos, but like, you know, the standard old huge VHS tapes or the little Sony camcorders, but like, you know, birthdays or concerts or wherever you go, I've used those cameras before and they always turn out like crap. You know, tons of like snow and just weird mist in the air. I'm like, what's wrong with it? What am I doing wrong? And so like I always gave up. I'm like, there's no way I could either be a videographer or make movies. Like every camera I've ever touched looked like crap. So I never thought that was a possibility for me. And you know, just over time, I guess, meeting the right people that do dabble in that kind of showed me the way and how important lighting is. And that's everything. Because I went out and bought a decent starter camera, and it was one of the first 4K DSLR cameras. And immediately when I started shooting, it just looked terrible. And then people are they're like, you need lights, man. And so I go out and I buy like the cheapest lights. I always start cheap, man. And I get the cheapest lights from like Home Depot. They're like those work lights that are halogen, so they get super hot and the bulbs will blow up if you touch them. So yeah, it's that's where I started, and people were like dying in the room because they're super hot and they're so out of control bright. But that's what I thought I needed to film. So it just looks like the room is glowing. But hey, it looked decent on camera finally. And you know, like after trial and error of experimenting, I learned that you can do similar things with like LED lights, so you don't need to like fry people's faces and leave with a tan when you're done. And but again, like I would go cheap. I'd go Amazon and things like that. So eventually, you just keep dumping more money into things that do the right job, and then you eventually learn that, hey, I could have, with all the money I spent on all the junk that didn't really deliver, I could have just bought like one great light from the beginning and been where I needed to. But you know, that's the learning experience, and hopefully if you pay attention to YouTube and things like that, people will guide you in the right directions. But you got to start somewhere, and I think that's the most important thing, is start with what you've got and don't let there be any excuse not to get into making a film. Use your iPhone, use the light that's on your iPhone if you have to, but start somewhere. And then if you start to enjoy that process of, you know, editing the footage and telling a story with it, and just go from there, it's been a fun journey. And
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Because you brought up something that I've been asked, the difference between being able to shoot the film as a cinematographer, which you are, and being able to edit the film. What's the difference here? If you're the one shooting it, shouldn't you be able to just shoot it the way you wanted it edited? Or why is it you have to do something different? I think that's the question.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that probably comes down to that is maybe just the understanding of, like you said, the technology side. Anything that involves, you know, the way something looks, like if you just have a point and shoot camera, like many of us have, whether it's a little disposable or your phone, getting the idea of framing something up the way you like it to look and positioning things for the shot, that's like one whole aspect of capturing it. But I think some people are intimidated by the technology side of like just getting the software installed. What software do I use? You know, like, does it cost a lot of money to do that? Because, you know, you have an iPhone that can shoot cinema quality footage these days, and that's just a necessity of life to, you know, be able to call your family and report to work and things. But yeah, to have a computer that can handle that software and then the footage itself, editing, yes, it's it can be a daunting task. So some people get by, like, you know, your Mac might come with iMovie or some of the built-in tools to do things like that, and a lot of people have gotten great things done with those. But these days there are a lot of resources out there to use stuff. Like DaVinci Resolve offers a free version, so you don't have to have like the Adobe Creative Cloud that costs $29 a month or more just to be able to edit. But yeah, just to understand, you know, once you've even got the software installed, like, where do I start? How do you import footage? How do you organize it so that you're syncing up? Maybe there's external audio from a boom mic. How do you get that to the video portion and replace the bad audio that came on your phone or something? Those are challenging aspects of being an editor and getting into it. So yeah, it's definitely trial and error, and back to YouTube to say, how do I edit what I've shot? But yeah, it's you know, making those right decisions on cutting. How do I cut a scene together? What's the right way to do it? And I found myself, even, you go to those YouTube videos and you start to learn how to edit, how to cut scenes together, and it's real easy to pigeonhole yourself into a technique of like listening to what they say and only doing that and never thinking of other ways to do it. Like, say, cut on action. They say, oh, you should always cut on action. So if you're moving your hand to open up a door and he's touching the doorknob, The reverse shot should be his hand on the doorknob opening the door, and then you got to have continuity of make sure it's the same arm, but like the scene has to go from him opening the door on one side to the other side of the door opening. And we know in making movies that that's not always the case, and that doesn't always have the right pacing. So it might be him opening the door from one side, but then the next shot he's already approaching the bar and ordering a drink.
So then what I'm getting an understanding of is that in shooting the film as a director, you must be cognizant and understand all these different shots and angles that are going to be necessary for the editor to capture and coordinate within a given scene. So we see everything, like you said, watching first the hand extending, then actually touching, the reverse of that, etc. That is two different aspects combined. Directorially, looking at how many shots we're going to do. It's a twofer. Is we're going to do a reverse over the shoulder, or it's their own what they see, their own point of view, whatever it is. But I think that's where the question lies with so many people. And what's amazing to me, Josh, is we find someone like you who can do both. Because I understand, as a director myself, I understand that. But then putting that together as an editor and understanding what that objective is as a director, I mean, that's where I think the art is. That's where I think the talent is. And I'm always impressed with your abilities to do that. So anyway, something else somebody asked me one time about working the type of stuff that you do, because you also do sound. You do sound mixing and capturing. You understand lights. Why did you learn all those other aspects when from what I understand about you, your real goal has always been as a director, a writer, a producer of things, but yet you have all this other knowledge. I mean, why did you learn all that?
That's a good point. If you're fascinated with the idea of a movie and just creating one, that just sounds really cool to be able to do. But it also stems from being just a creative person. I've always, since a child, liked to write stories, overactive imagination. I could sit here on top of my head and just come up with, there was a man who lived in a shoe, and when he grew up, he planted a seed, and he climbed up to the clouds, and then he jumped off and did a belly flop. Like, I just did that off the top of my head. And that's just always how I've been. You could just tell me something and I just make something up on the spot. But to be able to write that down into an entertaining story and then want to bring that to life, I had to find a way, whether it's meeting people, a crew, or just my own self. And I felt really intimidated in the beginning that in order to make a movie, you had to have money. You had to have money to hire that crew in order to have a sound guy or a lighting grip or a cameraman. And so I didn't have that. And so the only way I could do it was to invest in the gear that enabled me to do it myself. And then I had to learn all those aspects of putting the camera on a tripod, getting a boom pole with a microphone, attaching the XLR cable into the camera. So now it's feeding the sound into the camera itself, and then putting that boom arm onto a stand that's positioned above the actors, and then having them stand in a certain blocking, and the microphone aiming at them, run back, grab the lights, position the lights around them so they're lit properly, go back and look at the camera, see if they look good in the camera. And if we're good, then maybe run the scene, see if anything changes in terms of them moving or blocking. And if that's all good, then we actually do a real take and hit record. So that's the one-man show of, and I did a whole, probably 70% of a feature film that way, just by myself and the actors, until I got so burnt out that I'm just like, I at least need one friend that can help me carry stuff. Because when you're on set, and I'm sure you guys know, you have limited time, you're borrowing locations, someone's house, or you're meeting daylight, you're out behind Lowe's making the back wall look like the border wall of Mexico, but it's a daylight shot, and at 6 p.m. we run out of daylight. So you only have 2 hours, because people just got off work and now they're available to act. And so we have 2 hours to capture a scene before the light's gone. And so that's a lot of pressure for one person to do all those things. And eventually, I asked for help and got some friends, and then they enjoyed, helping move lights and stuff. But yeah, so it's just about learning the aspects in order to accomplish the goal I wanted, which was to make a film. And every process of that filmmaking, getting into editing or color grading or mixing sound, all became an individual task that I had to go study and learn in order to what are the film specs, what are the industry standards to try to meet, to make sure that it is comparable to anything else that everybody watches on Amazon or Tubi, and that you're delivering something of similar quality instead of something that looks like it just belongs on YouTube and no further.
Interesting, Josh. You seem to me, as the artist that you are, that you do this for the suffering of your art, because I know you've been involved in a lot of activity, a lot of short films, a lot of music videos, editing, directing, shooting them on the spur of the moment. I know you did one. I think the guy called you up. You shot it that night, and it won an award 2 days later. I mean, that to me is amazing. And when I hear that, I'm always going, what drives a person to do that? Because mutually, Craig and I, ask ourselves, why do we do this? And sometimes it is just the sufferance of the art. But why? I mean, so I don't know what to tell people when they ask me. And then I hear somebody like you, and I'm going, wow, why do we do this? What it is as an artist that drives you? Tell me what drives you. Why?
That's a good question. I think there's different reasons. One, I guess, to get something that's inside of me manifested into reality, and the joy of sharing that with other people, the way it moves them, either emotionally or just the sheer entertainment of laughter. I think there's like people in this world that are like the vessels of entertainment, and then there's the ones that receive that, and they're happy being the receivers of entertainment, and I'm happy being the deliverer. I'm the jester. I've grown up making an ass of myself, and I do it just fine in the form of filmmaking as well. So it's that aspect. People ask me all the time, like, why I put myself through these things, because there's not always the reward you hope there would be on the other end. But I don't lose faith in the possibility that I will reach that someday. I will suffer and suffer and suffer and suffer and suffer and suffer until I get up there, and then hopefully it's all worth it in the end. But
just don't cut your ear off.
Yeah, and I've got a family and stuff, and so a lot of my motivation too is that if I were to make some success in this industry, that I could leave some sort of legacy to them. They can be proud that their dad aspired to do something, and maybe that encourages them to work as hard in anything that they're interested in, not just following my footsteps, but like really diving into something they're passionate about, and then pushing themselves to the limits of succeeding at it. And so, I want to inspire my kids. I love to also help people out. I've sort of started into my own little YouTube, but I've just been so busy to get into it. I have this to-do list of things. And like one of the first ones, and this is probably even involved when I was helping you guys do your DCP so you could have your movie shown in the theater. A lot of people have that need and that problem. And so I had to go through my own obstacles to get my film into the theater and create a DCP. So after doing that process, I created a YouTube video on how to create a DCP and put it out there. And I get like thousands of thanks and comments on how this helped their film festival or solved the problem, and it went off the hitch. Successful, and that just makes me feel good.
Why don't you tell people how to reach that? Why don't you tell people how to reach that right now?
if you just go to YouTube and search for DCP creation, and if you threw Josh Williams on there, but even just DCP creation, it'll probably come up in one of the top videos. Usually it's up there in like the top 5 because there's been one, it's recent, but it's had quite a bit of views, and I think the success rate on it has been pretty good for people. So the algorithm kind of pushes it up. But yeah, so it's one of many things I'd like to do to help with people not have to struggle the way I did in the first few years of filmmaking.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I think Craig and I both admire your work. Like I said, you've done a few films with us as an editor, and here in the future, we'll be working together on other projects. I look forward to that, as you know. And we'll talk about that some other time. But what advice, aside from don't let people get you down, and do you shoot with what you got? I mean, because I was once told something, and I posted this because I believe in it. You exemplify it. Love the art within you, not you within the art. And when I was told that many, many years ago, it stuck to me because art finds its way. That's why I use the term sufferance. You have no choice. It's coming out. Somehow, some way, it will find its avenue of expression. And we're driven towards that regardless of anything else that is necessary in life.
Mm-hmm.
Family, income, structure, all that. And the art that we choose is one of the most complicated because it incorporates just about all other art forms.
Yeah.
And the amazing part of it is why someone like you, and I'll throw Craig in this batch as well, and myself, why do we do that? Why do we do it? You talked about legacies, and you talk, well, we're going to have a legacy regardless. Hopefully it's good, not bad, but we're going to have one regardless, right? But we do horror films. We've done a comedy. Well, we hoped it was a comedy. Anyway, our primary thing has been these horror films, and I never sought out to do that. You've done them with us, so this is what I'm saying. I would love to do a Western. I'd love to do some other action films. Something worthwhile. But we're doing horror films, but we try to make them very unique. And that's what it is always. I'm like, you talk about, the expression of art. I was going to say it earlier, but you're doing these horror films and these other types of movies and these. I'm just going to call attention and please explain it to us. I recently viewed a rock video that you did with some incredible makeup, incorporating leather mask. Or Leatherface, pardon me, the Leatherface into this heavy metal thing. Well, tell us a little bit about that, how you got into that. Because
it's so I think part of anything I'm involved with, if there's, like a horror element or a comedy, if it's possible, because so many things have been done already today, I like to try to show people something they may not have seen before. And so I had a friend asked me to do some drum videos for them that's going to be added to another music video. We shared a little clip of that on Instagram, and one of his friends saw that drum video and then hit me up and said, hey, our band wants to make a music video. Is that something you would do? And I was like, yeah, let's meet up. Let's talk about it. And when he asked for like ideas of what to use for stuff, I told him about a concept I had for another friend's band that never got used. And when I described it to him, he just fell in love with it. And he's like, can I use that? And I said, sure. And so the concept of it was basically there's a bunch of guys in the band sitting around a bonfire and they're partying. And then the singer walks up annoyed by them. And he basically wants to kill them. Okay, well, it's like pretty common in the band. Sometimes you want to kill your bandmates, I guess. So he ends up giving them this alcohol that has drug in it, knocks them out. He drags them into a room where they end up on these gurneys in like a surgery room, and they're all in these white outfits. And basically, he carves their faces off. He just does this scalpel, and then he peels it off. And then when he's done, he cuts the faces into different quadrants, maybe around this eye and around this part of the face. And so he has 4 band members, and he takes pieces of each of their faces and sews them into one mask. So you have Harry, Bob, Joe, and Kevin all in, one mask. And then at the end, when he puts on the mask and turns around to reveal it to the camera, it backs out and shows all his band members are now faceless, and then they're performing together faceless, with him wearing their faces as a mask. And so my thought of it was like, I've never seen a music video where the singer cut all his bandmates' faces off and made a mask out of it, and then they perform that way with no face. So yeah,
Wow.
hopefully it
Could be
works.
a reason for that. I'm not certain, but there could be a reason for that.
Yeah. So it's a little
That's
different.
That's a great backstory, Josh. I had no idea that you played that much of a role. And that's the question I was going to ask you today, that what role did you play in that music video? You played everything but the instruments in that. Wow. That's a great backstory, man.
Yeah.
Well, I recommend, if you're into something that's really, really out there, wild and crazy and heavy metal, that's the one to see. I'm not a heavy metal guy, but I have to admit it was extremely interesting. I was fascinated with the concept. I'm not a gore guy, but this sort of really went well with it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Incredible.
it'll be coming out probably around June 1st. So might as well, since we're talking about it, Between Realms is the band, and Subhuman Scum is the song. And it will be a performance mixed with cinematic horror story to it. So it'll be a fun video.
I have one other thing to ask you, because somebody asked me about this. You worked with a lot of different crews. You've worked with a lot of different film people, directors, actors, especially up in the area in which you're in. What do you look for? What makes you feel comfortable with a crew? What do you want from them? What are you expecting from the director, from the actors, from the other techs involved? What do you look for?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I could just start with the experiences of what I don't like. I've been on sets. I've been on sets where people just jabber a lot. They are more concerned about maybe their own ideas and opinions of things than just taking direction to like efficiently get the job done based on what the director's asking for. So yeah, I love when I can just walk on set and a bunch of people I've never met before will be turning to you like, hey, I'm, such and such, and this is my job. Let me know what you need. And you're like, awesome. I need to get this, and I need it taped up over there on that window to block out that light. On it, boom, they're done. They're going over. They're not complaining. They're not, even when it's 2 a.m. and we're all hungry and tired, and we're way over the estimated, wrap time. They're just there like I am, and like other people that are like really dedicated to just do our best, get it done, and make it all worthwhile in the end. Because there's people that start to slack, and why would you spend a 12-hour day wasting all that energy, time, and effort into an inferior result by your negligence of not doing your best because you're tired at the end of the day, or you haven't eaten yet or something. I think like you find strong people on set that are not just, already smart and technical, but they like absorb information you give to them, and they become smart and technical. So like a really adaptable people that can be a PA 1 minute or a grip the next, that just take direction well and are happy to do so. those are the people that become like my lifelong friends in the end. And if I have like a paid gig or something like that, I'm going to give it to someone like that versus a person that is normally used to getting paid and feels entitled and maybe doesn't put in their max effort into some things. I look for people that are careful because we have expensive equipment. So I don't want somebody that's negligent at the fact that like a lens costs $3,000. And so when you hand it to them, that's not something you just willy-nilly drop on a concrete driveway or something, because that's going to cause some severe damage that, you might have to buy a new lens and you may not have insurance or something. But yeah, just people that are careful and safe and eager to learn. That's what I look for in people that I work with for crew. Not
How about
just
your
having
actors?
big.
How about actors, directors? Anything specific?
Yeah, actors, I kind of look at them like a tool. Like, you need a screwdriver for one job and you might need an ice pick for another and a chainsaw for another. And so I kind of like will watch films, like let's just say in the local scene, if I've gone to like a festival or I've seen someone post a movie they made with a local actor, or even someone from LA, I'll just be like, wow, they're really good at this thing they do, or they're versatile. But I'm like, he's a chainsaw actor and I need a chainsaw. I'm gonna hit them up and see if that person will be my chainsaw for this movie. And so we've all got people that we know just embody a certain look, or they have a comedic side to them, or they're a believable relationship to convey some emotion. And then when I learn that, like, let's say they have a way they can deliver dialogue, then I know I can write things a certain way. I love having an actor that I already have in mind, or that I've already casted for the purpose of the script. So as I'm writing it or finalizing the script, I can write it how they're going to say it, or that way when they're already on set and they do it, there's no explanation. It was written for your mouth enunciation, like, that's the way he talks and that's the way it's going to come out, because they were coexisting in the writing process. And I love being able to do that with people I know and work on a script that way. Otherwise, it becomes real important to find somebody that can match that up and do all the casting and have them read the script and things like that. But I really love getting to know people and working with them, so that I can write for them and as my tool. Like when we get on set, I don't like to like think of them as an object, but no, you literally are my tool of conveyance right now. And so this is written for you to do it in your way that I know you're capable of. And so that's what I look for actors.
Well, interesting, and I'm going to just comment on what you said about actors, because I do believe and agree with what you said. There is a distinction at points. When you're first setting up shots and whatnot, the actors are certainly tools, placemats. Stand here, do this. We're checking lights, we're checking focus, we're checking all kinds of technical things that need to be considered. Is the boom in the frame? Do we got it right? And then after we've set up all that, now the actor becomes who they are. The player, the character. And now at that point, the director now sits in and helps them develop that, whatever that is going on in that scene. So I like your distinctions there with that. I think a lot of people don't understand that actors are both. They are a tool and they also are an artist. And there's two separate times, and actors must understand that. It's not just something they go in and it's all about them. No. They're one part of many parts. And interestingly, again, back to you, the many parts that you play, have you played as the actor? And what do you find different being the actor versus being on the other side of the camera behind it?
Well, I usually don't like to be on the other side of the camera because it requires a wider lens. But I don't like my voice. I don't like looking at myself. But despite that, I have then on the other side, very minimal dialogue. I think it's something that I would like to do more of someday, just because there might be a time where I need to be that tool used in something, because of the availabilities around. Maybe it's a last minute idea where you want an extra person in a shot and you want something different than before. And maybe I actually kind of look like that person if I could pull it off. And so sometimes I think I might actually like to dive into like getting more confident with acting and stuff. But otherwise, I've walked into rooms about to board a helicopter wearing tactical gear and a gun. I had to cut before my butt crack showed and getting in the helicopter. I've played a drowning victim. I had someone else swimming in a river, and then we cut to another location to be in a swimming pool where it's safer in a controlled environment. And then I put on their jersey and I look like a Tommy Boy scene where it's like fat guy in a little coat. So I was in this tight jersey with jeans on, and I got in the water and started spinning like an alligator or a crocodile pulling me under. And so I've been in a couple of little things like that just for the necessity of being like a double or a fill-in, to, just have extra bodies in a scene or something. But yeah, no real acting in any of my own films, and maybe I've delivered like one line somewhere, but yeah.
Right on. Hey, I can't tell you what's fun been talking with you, man. And I know a lot of people are going to be contacting you regarding all your background experience. You've got, so much of it going on. And I will say this straight out: we're proud, CRA Entertainment, to be associated with you and working with you. We look forward to upcoming projects for sure. If people want to get a hold of you, man, if they want to, somebody wants to give you a gig, somebody needs you, etc., how could they reach you?
I am on Instagram under JDub Recording or Audiovisual Films LLC. I have a website at audiovisualfilms.com, and then my email is josh@audiovisualfilms.com. But those are like the best three places, or ways to get a hold of me would be Instagram. And then I have two different pages on Instagram. One that's more for my personal stuff, which people are definitely welcome to hit me up there on the JDub Recording. That's mostly me and my friends, but I'm, a lot of people tag me directly for stuff. And so my film, even though I have a dedicated film for Audiovisual Films, that page gets neglected more than my personal one, because, people work with me. They look at it as me, not the production company. But yeah, there's also some Facebook stuff. You can look up Josh Williams on Facebook. And then again, I have my YouTube channel. You just look up Josh Williams on YouTube, and then you'll see my Audiovisual Films logo and my face up there somewhere. My hair has grown out since COVID. It needs to be updated so they know that I'm a hippie now. But so I'm out there. You can Google me and it'll probably pull up, my home address, but don't knock on my door, because that's just weird. So yeah.
All right, man.
But I'm always willing to talk shop on stuff. We're all busy and trying to do some serious things for our film careers, and put out some movies and content. So lately I've had to be more selectful at the type of things that I work on. I've started off doing the free things, networking with people, and I've done a lot of that. So now with time and family and the more serious projects going on, I try to limit some of the smaller things. I wish I could help everybody out, but I'm kind of at the point now where I do have to be selective, because I have so many big projects going on that I'm doing that. But that's not to say that when I get hit up for something, like I did with the music video, that I'm not, able to squeeze something in here and there. But don't take it personal if I, don't have the immediate time to work on a short film or something at the moment. But I am glad to offer any advice or help point out other people I know that are highly capable of helping as well. So definitely would like to see people finish their projects and reach their goals, and get you some capable hands to help you do that if it's not me myself.
Very cool. Very cool. Right on. We're going to have to cut it short. We had a very cool time talking with you, listening
Yes,
to you. Great advice, Craig. And I know
absolutely.
Craig didn't get to say too much because I keep interjecting. You just got me thinking, and I apologize for that. But
That was great.
despite that, we'll see him again on the porch. Yeah.
Yes.
Anytime.
Back on the
All
porch.
right. Cool. Take care.
Thanks,
Peace.
Josh.
Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
everybody. Thank you. Bye, all.